Hey everybody out there on the internet. I just got out of Wonder Park. I really did not know what to expect with this movie. I didn't even watch a trailer for it. I just knew it was coming out. And I had literally no idea what to expect with this. I did see like a couple pictures beforehand and it looked like something out of Calvin and Hobbes with like crazy invention stuff. But I was not expecting what I got. Yeah. So before I get into the movie, the theater that I was in, okay, so our theater here in town has been going through a bit of an identity crisis. There's another theater that's literally going to open less than a mile down the street. And ever since that thing has been promoted, this theater has just freaked out. They finally fixed things. They even took out the public phone that had been there forever. I mean, they're still remodeling things, but I mean, they install reclining chairs so they can compete with them. And well, I was already in a theater that some of the recliners don't work now already, so they're not doing so hot. But the lobby's still going through a massive restructuring. Like, you can actually see in the lobby now, it's like all bright instead of dingy and dark and scary, which might be nice. I don't know. I was indifferent to the thing because, well, it is what it is. But I will say this movie, this is the most I've ever had in the theater with me when I go to one of these things. I intentionally go to the theater at a time when I think that when I go to see a movie like this, there's going to be nobody there. And I figured a 9 o'clock show, there shouldn't be that many children. I mean, there really wasn't. I mean, there might have been like 3 families, but a lot of kids. Somebody doesn't believe in contraceptives. But this is the most that I'd ever seen in a movie theater when I've done one of these reviews. Not as good as Sergeant Stubby, where it was just me and I could like just have my thing with the movie, but whatever. So this movie, like I said, had no real idea about it other than it was Paramount and Nickelodeon joint venture here. And so I'm kind of expecting one thing, and I got something completely different. Like, I at first figured it was going to be a backyard sort of shenanigans thing where she makes these rides and she'll just do that thing throughout the movie, whatever. But no, it is not that. That is maybe the first 12 minutes of the movie. It is so not like that the rest of this film. And one thing that really, I don't know if it's a good thing or not, but the pacing of this movie is so fast. I mean, fast. This movie doesn't stop to breathe except maybe 3 different times. Everything just happens like boom, 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 boom. Like, I thought within the first half hour this film was done. Like, it's fast. And I don't know whether or not that really takes away from it because of the nature of the material or what, but I mean, first of all, it has a relatively short runtime, 85 minutes, which, I mean, that's still, feature length, but they cram so much into 85 minutes. It's really hard to digest, but it just happens so fast. Like, there's, like I say, there's no scene in this movie that really takes time to breathe. And sometimes it feels though that like things don't really get the chance to develop. Okay, so what am I really talking about here? So like I said, the first 15 minutes of this movie is kind of what was, from my understanding, after I looked at the teaser, after the trailer, after the fact of the movie, was kind of what was advertised. This is like backyard shenanigans sort of thing. And then we go into this weird mom's got cancer thing, and then the movie just turns dark. Like, oh my god, this movie gets really dark and depressing for the next 15 minutes. And it's like, oh, this is a fun romp, and then poof, like, oh, where are we now? And it cycles through this. It follows a lot of familiar tropes, and I was hoping to the good Lord it didn't end the way that I thought it was going to end, which is something typical of these kind of movies, because really what happens is, so this little girl and her mother have this vivid imagination and create this place called Wonderland, which I don't know why you wouldn't call the movie Wonderland, but you would call the movie Wonder Park. Okay, maybe it's naming rights, I don't know, but this is what you've did. And so they share stories with each other, and it's the inspiration for this park, which as they whisper these things into this one stuffed animal, this stuffed monkey named Peanut, he creates the things that they talk about, whether it's a ride or what have you. And when the mother is diagnosed with canceritis, whatever it is, because we are never told, the little girl gets depressed and then starts to forget the whole idea of doing anything with the park, and then it falls into disarray, and so this weird kind of growing up thing, like, ugh, I don't want to do this anymore because my mother's not here. And so that's when this movie turns into a mix between The Never-Ending Story and Return to Oz and Alice in Wonderland, or Return to Wonderland. Like, that's what happens in this movie, because she's the little girl, when she goes into this, for lack of a better term, depression, that her mother's going through this treatment. Her father decides to give her something to do, so this math camp, which sounds so fun, but in the middle of it she escapes, because she ever since her mother goes into treatment, like, she becomes overprotective of her father, and she's always constantly worried about him, so she plans to escape with a bus, and she ends up running through the woods when the escape works, and then she stumbles into what remains of actual Wonderland. So whatever she was thinking was real. And they go through all these adventures to bring back the park, although there are the typical tropes that you see, like, how do you know about the park? What do you mean you're the creator? And things of that nature. And when it comes to like Return to Oz, is like, so in the movie, when you go to the park, you get these little chimpanzees that when you push them, they say it's splendiferous today. There's the stuff in this movie happens so fast. It even sounds like what I'm talking about is a fever dream. And that's pretty much what it is. This whole movie is a fever dream. which I guess it means it goes at the speed of a 5-year-old. Because I could follow it and I was fine, but my God, there are points where it's just like, could we just slow it down a hair? And when I say those sort of things, like the typical tropes that go on with a movie like this, where you have, the bottom of Act 2, where the protagonist has doubt, and the people and the characters that have been becoming associated with her like lose hope in her when they find out that she's the one that created the darkness. The darkness is a thing that has been circling around the park, and that the stuffed animals, that the chimpanzee zombies now have been ripping apart the park and throwing it into the darkness. So it's kind of like the Nothing in Neverending Story. So they come around and they rip the stuff, they attack everything, they chop it up, and they send it up to the Nothing, or the darkness, as it's called in this movie. And it's, like I say, so fast paced. Like even at that bottom, at the end of the second act, where that whole stage of what am I to do? How am I going to fix things, make them right? It's literally fixed in 30 seconds. Like, oh, I know what to do, and boom, 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 boom. And it's like, you don't even get a chance to stew in the despair. And it's like, that, like I say, for this movie, that's what it kills it for me. The pace is great at certain points, but my God, it just needs to slow down. But it goes through a lot of the same tropes, and I'm not gonna give away the ending. I mean, it's alright, but at least it didn't go the Sopranos route, because I'd have been really upset. But it went a route that I thought was gonna happen, and I'm okay with it. It's not bad. It's safe. I mean, there's some things that really... Okay, there are some themes in this movie that I admire. Like the fact that the lead character, she's heavy into not only creativity, but engineering. So she's constantly creating things, and she has a physics mind, like a physics mind towards things. And I mean, that's so refreshing to see, because she's constantly building things, except when she gets into the depression part, then it's like, I don't want to do that sort of thing. But it's really refreshing to see something like that. So I enjoyed that thoroughly. I mean, she's creating things, and like, it's vivid imagination stuff, and it's pretty wild. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if they actually asked some kids, like, what kind of be crazy rides and stuff to come up with some of these things, because I mean, they're out there, and it's pretty wild. Voice acting is the other big thing that I'm not too cool with this movie. The actor says for June, the lead character, they could have got somebody else. It's not working. Like, there are points where, like, there should be more exasperation from her, but it's not there. It doesn't meet, like moments of awe or danger just don't seem to mesh well with the delivery she's giving, and so it doesn't work. The other thing that stands out, and it's probably just me, is John Oliver is in this film. I like John Oliver. He's funny. But it's one of those things that I have with celebrity voices. Now, there are a number of celebrity voices in here. Kenan from Kenan and Kel is in here. Matthew Broderick is in this film, but you wouldn't know it because no one remembers Matthew Broderick. Mila Kunis is in here, but you really don't hear it all that much. But John Oliver, you do. And all I can think of, he's this porcupine named Steve, and Steve is the safety guy, or the safety porcupine. And I feel like every time he speaks, he's about to start breaking down like a 20-minute journalistic episode about something. And every time he spoke, all I'm hearing is Last Week Tonight in my head, and I'm like, oh my god, when's that joke gonna drop? When's that joke gonna drop? And it doesn't happen. It's like, quit messing with my mind, because that's clearly all I hear. And so, I mean, it's funny with the John Oliver stuff, because that's just a mental thing for me. But like I say, for the protagonist, June, it's I don't know, it's just not there. Like I say, it's a solid movie. It wasn't what I was expecting. It was surprising. It didn't have a fart joke. Oh my god. It's like it's one of the few movies. Wait, no, well, Legos can't fart, but I don't even think Lego Movie had a single fart joke, but this movie had none of that. I mean, it wasn't even like cynical humor. It was actually well-written humor. I mean, the kids weren't laughing all that much. There were like a couple of physical things they were laughing at, but by and large, the humor in it is charming, but it's not crude. It's that sense of wonder sort of thing, and I actually felt good about this film. I don't normally give movies high praise, and in a way I kind of want to with this film, but again, certain things were hang-ups for me. But it did a solid job, and it was a pleasant surprise. What grade would I give it? A B+. It's not an instant classic. It's not like, oh my god, you should go out and rush to see this, but it is solid. Brisk runtime. Pacing is pretty much the thing that gets me. Pacing and the voice acting are the two big detractors for me. It's a little too fast. And, so scenes and like story development, they don't have their moment to breathe. And I think if you'd have just added maybe 5 minutes to this film, where in those minutes were the spots where things needed to breathe and you take in the gravity of certain situations, or I'd probably give it an A if it just had that stuff and you tweak the voice acting a little bit. But it's good, but just a couple hang-ups. So yeah, pleasantly surprised. Was something I really wasn't expecting anything out of. So it was good. Also, the weird love interest thing between the pig and the porcupine was a little off, but whatever. Look, animals can do whatever they want. It's free country. So yeah. Not going to talk about the trailers because it's been the same trailers I've had for the last 3 movies. So nothing new there. I'm not quite sure what's coming out next. I don't think anything comes out until April. I could be wrong, but the other thing is the other movie theater is going to be opening soon. So now I have to keep track of 2 movie theaters in town to see where am I going to see things, because yeah, the competition's coming, and this movie theater's having a bit of a performance anxiety issue. That's why they're finally fixing things from the 1990s. Not that anything's wrong with the 1990s. I thought the 1990s were perfectly good, but apparently somebody's going through an identity crisis. But that's neither here nor there. So, like I say, solid movie. You got a kid and you want to give him that sense of wonder, show it to him. But Otherwise, overall solid. Not a classic, but pretty good. So, till next time, kiddies. Toodles.